Yes, 1, 2, 3,
He's
4,
living
5, 6,
independently
7, 1,
with
2.
his sister. He's working 2 jobs.
have it.
Yes,
we're-
please.
Like,
all
that's
right.
a great team,
Existential
except for
crisis.
Bryce. I'm not there, yeah. Yes, he's supposed to retire.
Yes, wonderful.
How are you?
Practice.
Yeah.
Practice, I was executive director of Still Water Living Council for the last 2 years. So
You
I'll be
are, I just saw it, I was about to say.
On Friday.
I'm bringing something from.
Being a father.
Oh, yeah.
It's always been. I'll send you, I'll look you up.
I'll give you my card right now.
All right.
This is. Oh, I was. Let's see.
All right, thank you.
One more, I can start.
Yeah, let's do that.
You ready? So we're gonna, good morning, Kim Hunter, Commissioner of Higher Education. Wonderful to see all of you with us. Good morning, welcome. In walks the quorum.
There we go.
Congratulations.
In walks the quorum. Before we start, Tristan's gonna run the meeting, but we're excited to have both the director and assistant director of the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs with us. So congratulations to both of you. Do you want to introduce yourselves? Governor's Office of Director and Assistant Director of Disability Affairs.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jamar Ennis. I'm with the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs. It's my first day back. For those who haven't met yet, I see familiar faces at this table. So I'm here, happy to serve. I do want to introduce, our Assistant Director, Liam Dole.
Right.
So we're here, observing. Just let us know if you need anything.
Wonderful. Welcome. Welcome. All right, we have a quorum, so I'll turn it over to Tristan.
Okay. Well, and thanks everyone for attending our April meeting of the Postsecondary Inclusive Education Advisory Council. So I want to remind everybody that this meeting is being live streamed. So let me ask Ms. Langwell to call the roll.
Commissioner Reed? Here.
Ms. Bayham, Ms. Polazola for Dr. Beckers, Dr. Bro.
Here.
Dr.
Okay,
Dr. Euro,
Yes.
Ms. Haven,
Here.
Mr. Dillon,
Yeah.
Ms. London,
Here.
Ms. Grenier, Dr. O'Rourke.
Here.
Mr. Manella, President Shields, Dr. Smith, and Ms. Soden.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
That's terrific. Thank you. So first order of business is, could I get a motion to approve our minutes from the May 17th meeting?
Motion. Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Good, thank you. All righty. So our first item on today's agenda is an update from the two new programs that we were able to fund last year. And so first of all, Dr. Bell, who's here from Louisiana Monroe, who's going to tell us all about the program here. So, yeah,
Okay.
Dr. Bell.
Oh, thank you. First, I want to say thank you. I really appreciate you asking me to invite me to speak about our program and the things we've been working on for the past year for ULM. Thank Dr. Bro for all of the support she's provided and all the calls and emails and Zoom calls. Like, I don't know how to do all this. And so she's been there for us when we needed her. So I'm glad for that. And I hear that she's going to be retiring. So I'm like, no.
You have a year.
Okay.
All in here.
Okay.
All you can.
So I really appreciate you being let me be able to talk about our program. It's kind of like this. I started teaching special education back in 2004. So it's been 20 years of career of teaching special education. And it's kind of like going full circle in a lot of ways, because I was a special education teacher, then I became an educational diagnostician, then finished my doctorate and became a professor of special education. And then now, so bringing to students to campus is kind of like fulfilling what I started by working with inclusion of students with intellectual disabilities in the high school level.
I love it.
And so it's that's been the thing that's been great about it. So I'll just tell you about our program, or ACES is what we're calling it, our academics career engagement support. We started from, getting graphics to everything. So from the
Great
beginning,
program.
started out, yeah. So, I'll move here. Work began, we began in December of 22 to put our program together. And applied for grant funding back in January of 23 with approval from Academic Affairs. The provost, Dr. Aran, asked us, in the School of Education, can you put this program together? We're like, sure. So I did the research and figured out, okay, what is this all about? Because I didn't really know at the time. I taught special education and done a lot of things at the university and that, but I didn't really know what CTP status was and what CTP programs were. So I went and I did the research and I figured it out. And so I'm still figuring it out. But so we received the money in August and we began working through the summer and the fall to put together the multiple components of the program. Begin our program begins in the fall of 24. So we're looking forward to launching that, and we're in the process of that. We're currently accepting students, and I will talk about that in a minute. But we have interviews scheduled for our students coming up at the end of the month. So we'll be bringing them in and bringing in their family members or whatever, and see if they're gonna want to be a part of our program. It's going to be housed in our School of Education. And then I sent all the documentation last week to financial aid to get the CTP status approved. So that approval. So hopefully that will not take a long time. Everything will be there and federal government will approve us and we can move forward. So that's been a lot to work. So our missions as individual pre-applications. So right now, actually, we had another apply. We have an application process open and we had 13. And as of today, it's 14. So we have 14 students that have applied to want to be in the program. We are limiting the cohort right now to 5 because we're trying to figure out, okay, how is this going to work? So we're going to limit it this year to 5 students in the first cohort, but we're going to increase that. And we're going to keep a waiting list of those students that are within that group till we can move forward. We'll be conducting interviews at the last week of April, first week of May, and we'll be bringing those students in. I created a t-shirt for them. So when they are accepted, if possible, I'll go out to their school because we did a lot of partnerships with our districts. And so where we can go out and say, hey, you're going to go to ULM, you're going to be a ULM student, and provide them with a t-shirt and just make it a big deal for those students that they might not have that ability. So, so that's something that we had planned for the end of school year. So once we admit those students.
Make sure you send us the pictures.
Yeah.
If we have permission to retweet, we will be retweeting it away.
Okay, we'll send the pictures. We'll do pictures. We'll have that ready. So, ACES it's going to focus on career. We're going to look at career interests for each student. So we'll do like individual plans for each student and kind of gauge their career interests and what they're interested in doing. I created a University 0090 non-credit course that's going to be housed in our department. So we will have a course that they will take that is going to be covering the career interests and career all the different career skills under the modeling, assessments, instruction, hands-on tools, all the soft skills that you get under careers and employability skills, all those things. And one thing about our program that I think is a little different than others is that we're using Project Discovery from Education Associates. Now, Project Discovery is also being used in a lot of our districts. So we're going to piggyback off of that and be able to pull some of the more advanced materials. We have that in our department. And so they're going to be using that as part of the program. So that is going to teach them specific career skills. So in each one of those, they come with large kits. So they have kits that teach about electricity or about auto mechanics or healthcare, some healthcare industry things. So it connects it to that. And one of the things that they get out of that is they get a digital badge through the NOCTI certification. So the National Occupational Career Technical Institute provides those digital badges. So they'll have something when they leave our program that they know how to do.
And you know that, so, we now, so all of the schools now have the ability to capture those digital badges in the new, Canvas badge portfolio, so,
Okay.
we should totally look at.
Okay.
To see exactly how. to
Sure.
do that.
So that's our goal. They're going to be looking at all those different things. Another important part of it, they're gonna audit 2 courses, so they will be going to courses that are connect to those things. So let's say they need a course, if they're doing one of our career kits and they want to go, Project Discovery career kits, and they want to go do something connected, so they'll go out into a course like that and audit. But we're also going to use our education and psychology majors to be student mentors. So they will actually attend some classes with them and be there for them. And we'll have an application process when that's in the works too. So when we have our cohorts coming in for our teacher candidates, our teacher block students in the fall semester, they'll also be part of that mentorship program. And they can use that information to get service hours within that program. So that's a big part of it. And then the last part of just kind of give us over as far as additional funding that we would need would be to hire some additional staff. Right now, I'm the staff, and we're gonna have an adjunct that will be able to teach some courses. So we've got that situated for fall. I do have our associate director has been a lot of help to me. Dr. Stanley, she's been there for me to do a lot of work too. And let me go back one slide here and tell you one thing. We also have partnerships with ARCO and workforce development in the works. So I have a meeting with ARCO this week and with workforce development to kind of put together some internships for those students. Some of this is already being done in the community, so why not use the things that are already being done to support our program? So we'll make sure we get that. And then continuing that, about funding is to provide additional materials for the students as needed. What materials would they need? Because you think of the students coming to campus, they might not have everything they need, such as, computers and iPads or materials and that. So that's one thing that we've thought about, some way of finding funding for that. And another part of it, we have an assistive technology lab that was developed in our department that it's in its infant stages. We're working on that. And so we want to incorporate that into our program. So that's going to be the space they're going to use to get their material, to learn the career material. And so the kits, the Project Discovery kits, will need replenishing over time after we've used the materials in those kits. So that's the funding would be used for that. Also, we were, hoping to possibly have mentors where they have paid stipends. So they're not just doing this as volunteer work, they're doing it as they get something for that. And then the next long-term goal would be to get into housing and solutions for some transportation issues. So that kind of sums up what I've had to say. So go ahead.
So Dr. Bell, you're gonna start with this cohort of 5 and it's a day program, not a
Yes.
residency program.
Right.
I see.
Right, and then what our plans are to the next fall to bring in 10. So we're gonna build in that way because we thought if we did it we just want to see what the first cohort's gonna look like for that first year and see how that's gonna go. And then we can tweak and add and move things around to where it's gonna work for them when we bring in the next group of 10. And so we'll have a waiting list from those people that have applied. And if they want to continue, I wish we could bring them all. That would be my.
Start small and get it right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, so it's gonna be limited this year, but next year we hope we can bring the majority of those in.
Yeah.
So,
It's great. We're very excited about the program.
and we are the first in Northeast.
I'm just
That's
about to say,
exactly right.
excited to have a
So-
North Museum. Yes, for sure.
Other questions for Dr. Bell?
Is it a 2-year or 4-year?
It's actually a 2.5 year because we're going to do 2 year, there's 2 semesters. The first 2 semesters are the career and audited classes. Then they have an internship in the summertime. Then they do 2 more semesters of career. And then that last fall, we'll give them the summer off. And then the last fall, we'll have another internship. And the reason we did that is we wanted to make sure if they get to go to graduation, that they're not having to wait. They finish in August and then have to wait all the way to December. So we wanted them to finish in December and be able to be part of the graduation ceremony at that point. So that's why we extended it into that 2.5 year program.
Think about it, Mitch.
Oh, I like it. I was one of my friends is about to graduate in college.
Yes.
Yeah, he's graduating for May 2nd.
Excellent.
Yeah, from Whitehall
Community.
University.
The community is really, I mean, I've had emails and calls and just lots of people interested. And the news, we've been on the news, it's been really a big deal lately. So it's in every newspaper, I think, lately up north, so.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Mitch is our expert because he attended one of the programs.
Yeah,
So we always like to hear from
Okay.
Mitch.
yeah, I got to Nicholas State with Dr. Bro over there.
Right.
So what does Dr. Bell need to know to make sure the students get what they need, Mitch?
They need money and
Yes, they do.
They need money and what?
they need money
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
and they need more potential and spend life and enjoy it last longer.
Yes. Thank you.
Very
Awesome.
So as Dr. Bell said, we're excited about our first program in the north of the state, and we're also really excited about our first HBCU program. So I want to hand over to Dr. Rose, who can tell us about the new program down at SUNY.
So good morning, I'm Tanya Rose. I am representing Southern University at New Orleans. And we're calling our program the Exceptional Nights Program, because who knows the nights? So these are going to be our exceptional students. Just an overview, because I know I've heard my presentation before. We're looking at a 2-year program, 4 semesters, focusing on college readiness. So the students will be enrolled in college readiness and freshman seminar when they enter, and then also some content courses. So 1 English course, a math course, computer applications and communications. And then pairing that with the electives. So when the students come into the program through their interviews, we'll kind of find out what their interests are. So everything doesn't feel so academic, and allow them to select some electives. So art, music, foreign language, some of our museum courses, first aid. They aspire to be educators. They can take like the teacher education courses, and we'll let them choose their elective courses. So we'll pair every semester, they'll take 1 content course and then an elective course. Some workshops that we are proposing, and we've actually already signed contracts with some of the consultants, is there's a self-care workshop. So we want to teach these students about self-regulation, self-maintenance, self-care, de-stressing in high stressful environments, training our teachers, the mentors who are going to work with the students, and also those students on social emotional learning. Career planning, would have someone come in and do a couple of workshops on helping the students map their career goals. And then also vocational transitioning planning for our faculty. So we do have a special education MAT program, but those students are 100% online. Our on-ground faculty are not special education. So we are going to train them in vocational transitioning so that they can better assist the students with their career plans or whatever they plan to do after the program or through the program. Some career readiness we have already locked in, and this is dependent upon the student's ability. We have 2 schools that are on the first floor of our education building. So we have the Rooted School, which is a 9th through 12th grade high school. And then we have a childcare center that takes students from 6 weeks up to 5. And so we have already locked in where we have grant funds to pay the exceptional nights to become childcare assistants in the childcare center. So nothing heavy, just kind of a teaching assistant to the lead teacher in the classroom. Also office assistant on the 2nd floor. So in my department, I have 1 administrative assistant. So we want to train our exceptional nights to be assistants to our office assistants. So they'll come in there. We do have uniforms like ULM. We're going to have special t-shirts they're going to have, not to kind of put a light on this is the exceptional students, but we want them to be able to be proud and say, hey, I'm in this program. So they're going to come in with their polo shirts, with their embellished polo shirts, and we have name tags for them, backpacks. But we want them to, we want to create a space where they're not looked upon as having ID, that they're looked upon as, I'm a student at SUNO, and this is my work study. I'm an office assistant, or I work at the childcare center. For the Rooted School, they did point out that they had some janitorial services available. I'm kind of not leaning toward having our students do because to me, we kind of just throw them in the jobs that nobody else wants to do. So I'm kind of not leaning toward that, but if that's a student interest, then I do have that available. But I'm trying to set a standard to where they're working on side of someone who doesn't have their ability, not disability, but doesn't have their ability. So, but we do have those things already locked in. So they will take their classes outside of the education building and then come to work in our building. We had to pause our progress in our program. We had some administrative changes. New vice chancellor of academic affairs. So we had an interim for about 6 or 7 months. And at that time, they was like, nothing comes through, everything is paused. So our new vice chancellor came in February 1st. And since then we've been rolling. I had some personnel changes in my department where the person who was assisting me in writing this program, she received a better offer. So she left, which I can't complain, but I'm just upset. But she left. So with the administrative changes and the personal change, we kind of just like put a pause. Just kind of work behind the scenes a little bit, but we wanted to start this program in August, but I don't think it's gonna be ready because we had to put that pause into our program. So right now, like you will, our application has been submitted to our financial aid director. The letter, the SAP policy has been produced. We've already done the program narrative. We're in the process of adding it to the e-app. He has a meeting with Dr. Ammons. I want to say it's this week. I know he said Friday, so I don't know if it was last Friday or this Friday. He has a meeting with Dr. Ammons to get him to approve everything before he submits it. I've already did the accrediting agency notification letter. I'm just waiting for them to say, hey, send it to me so I can sign it and go. And then after Dr. Ammons and our financial aid director approves everything, then we're ready to submit and go. So that's the progress so far of SSNO. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a goal of the number of students in your first cohort?
So-
and where you want to grow to?
So we're looking to start at 5 to 10. We're looking to depending on faculty. So depending on how many dedicated faculty I can dedicate to this program will depend on how many students we can take. But the goal is to start at 5 to 10 for our first cohort, so we can work out any kinks and then increase as needed.
Are you thinking spring start?
I'm thinking spring, yeah,
Spring 25.
yes,
Seems crazy to say 25, but.
I know. And then, Dr. Rowe, we are looking to extend it to a 4-year program. So depending on how that first cohort goes, we're looking to have those students do like a pilot again of extending it. We're just trying to figure out like what's the best products to put into that extra 2 years. Like what would they need, how to best serve the students. So we're gonna use those first 2 years to figure out what we can do to extend it to year 3 and 4. And it is it's residential by choice. So the students do wish to stay on campus. We do have housing available. We're trying to decide if we're gonna put them in honors housing because it's updated. Or if we will be able to just select one of our buildings and designate the first floor to these students. But they will have the option to stay on campus.
What kind of response are you getting?
So I'm getting a lot of emails and calls, and then, you know, we have the Rooted School downstairs, so a lot of their students have ID, so they've been anxiously waiting for us to come up with, you know, to start taking applications. I didn't want to open the application process, because I don't know how long the CTP approval process is gonna be, and I'm not sure our students will be able to afford the program without financial assistance, so that's why we haven't opened the application portal, but we do have a pipeline so far from our Rooted School that's ready to come in.
Great.
Yeah.
You know, it's the experience of people. The CCP, it's kind of like how long is a piece of string? It could be short, could be long. It's just. Other questions for Dr. Rose? As I say, we couldn't be more, I mean, you know, I don't know about you, but thinking about where we were when we first met, I think, you know, we set out a goal to try to have a program in the north and a program in our HBCUs. Both of those are happening, it's just terrific. I think when I added up the impact of the first set of grants, I think they expanded the total cover by 25% across the state or something like that, something close to that. So I mean, I think there's really been a huge amount of impact in a short period of time, which is just, so thanks you all for sharing this morning. So next item on our agenda is the results of the RFP that we put out. We sent out requests for, if you remember, a little bit different around this time. We had two new kinds of support. The first is a planning grant, really lined up, and I think learning from everyone's experience, which is getting the CCP out the door is really important, and I think clearly something which we can really try to support. So having that planning grant, but then also having an opportunity for a program that's kind of in that place where they're ready, set up to get the CTP out the door, and just like you all are sort of ready to get the program established. And so we did have two applications, one from Central Louisiana, a planning grant to put together their CTP, and then the other from Southern A&M to establish a new program there. And so happy to take a motion to approve those recommendations for the support for those two new programs.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Very good. Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the review of those, when they want to start, anything you know about them?
Yeah, so the Central Louisiana program is just, so it is a planning grant, and so they are going to use the monies to actually work with a consultant to really put together their CTP application. The Southern program anticipates opening in August 2025. And so I mean, they appear to have really done a lot of work to put together the structure of the program. So I think it's going to be great. And we will, of course, the next time we meet, we will absolutely bring Southern to come in and tell us about what they're planning to do. So,
Are they tapping into the, as I call it LAPI, the technical assistance that we provide? I guess it's Dr. Bro.
They should.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Now that's what we will encourage them
If
to do.
given a contact, then I can reach out to them. That'd
Of
be
course.
great. That'd be great.
I don't know if anybody around the table has this, but do we know the ratio of community college programs to four-year programs in our work so far?
This would be, we have two community colleges that were existing, and so this would be the third.
That's right.
And then four-year, we're at, is it 8?
Which is nice, probably.
Yeah, nice count there.
Take care of it.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 universities, and this would be 8.
Got it. That's
So
excellent.
8 and 3.
So 8 and 3.
8 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I do think that, and kudos to Disability Council, Governor's Office, advocates around the table, parents in the room, Senator Boudreaux. I do think that it's just it's a special opportunity for us to say there's a place for our students, all students at our colleges and universities, and we're going to figure out a path that is productive for students to be a part. And how exciting it is for them to come, get t-shirts, be welcome, have the video, them getting their acceptance letter. And for parents to see a community that's embracing their students and working diligently to make sure the experience is a rich, robust, safe, nurturing experience for their students. I'm just so excited about it. Just so excited about it. So yay. So yay.
And I also think that like, as we need to promote like the opportunities, like what is the impact that it's having? You know, like, my son's graduating from UL Life May 10th.
Yeah.
So there's another graduate, you know, Mitch. And so, and there's a lot of students who have graduated, and like, what I think we need to continue to keep that. I don't know if that's through the that you're doing that, Dr. Bro, through the, LaPi, that we're able to continue to show the impact so that we can continue to show show why we need the funds. So just keeping up with those students and making sure they're having meaning, it's enriching their lives to be able to live more independently and be employed and that type of thing. I think that's an important component to continue the momentum.
That's true. We should be intentional about capturing those stories as part of our sort of return on investment conversation. I will tell you, we had an opportunity, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago, maybe, that we went to Senate Finance. So Senator Boudreaux asked, how was the program? What was happening with the money? Where are we in the process? He and I have been talking about trying to get another, allocation of funds in the budget, which is not in the budget as of today, but we're working on that. But I do think that this proof of concept, right? We need to keep telling the story and having examples across the state of students whose lives have been enriched as a result. So let's make sure we're intentional about that, capturing that. That's a good point. I'll make a note of that too.
And I think with LA5, one thing with Dr. Beckers was heading that charge. And so now Dr. Traylor is the program coordinator for Lions Connected. So LaPi is through, it's designated to Southeastern, so I've been working with Dr. Traylor. So it has been a little trying at times, because Dr. Becker started it, she did the budgeting and, so there has been a little void there. So hopefully we can get something rolling, because I know when Dr. Beckers was there, she commissioned for a video to be done at all the universities. So, there's still monies for that to include the new programs and highlight that. I will get with Dr. Traylor and see what I can find out, to see if we can bring something forward, if there's still available monies for that.
So, just curious, Southeastern was the fiscal agent, could they raise their hand? Or did you guys
Yes.
just vote for them to be the fiscal agent?
We did hear.
I see. We did here, okay.
I
All right,
think
so Janine
Because
will,
Dr. Beckers was there,
She had
she had the.
it for the first 2 years, and so then she was, ready and able.
right,
And since then, she's headed for retirement.
got it. Okay. So, we'll talk to Janine about sustainability of that and what that looks like. Okay, thank you for flagging that. Sorry, I got us off track. I just wanted to.
Well, and I mean, it's actually, I think it's a natural continuation for us to now have a little bit of a discussion about how to strategize around the remaining funds. So last time when we decided to put out the RFPs, we did, at that point, we did not know which way what would happen as part of the legislative action, so we sort of wanted to wait and see. I think we still don't exactly know how that will shake out. It's probably worth having in our heads where we are on the fiscal side. We have about $300,000 that were left over from last year that are in the fund. And then, of course, we were provided $1 million for this fiscal year. That's the action that you've just taken sets aside 100,000 of that for those two new programs. So
1.2
so we're right at 1.2 that we have,
that
Do we have-
can carry forward.
right, that can carry forward. So,
Okay.
So can you explain, so is it, you're talking about these two programs or the other two
The
programs?
two.
the two programs that we just
So one was
approved.
20,000 planning and one was
The other's
80,000.
We've already accounted for what they're getting?
Yes,
They're ready to.
they're already in the budget.
Okay,
So 1.2 remaining and no knowledge yet of whether we'll get an additional million or not. That's our request at least. But I think Tristan's right. We should talk about if we get more money, how we would like to proceed, maybe multi-year grants. You flagged, additional funding, et cetera. If we don't get more money, how would we proceed with this 1.2 moving forward? So I think it's important that we hear from you all about that as we continue to advocate with you for additional time. Any thoughts?
I know for Nichols, last time we were awarded 50,000 for existing programs to be able to establish, more students coming in and better programming. So we have done that. Staff is still a huge issue for Nichols, and from what I hear from the other universities also. And then to be able to have a multi-year so that we can do some pre-planning. That would be the need for us. We are currently looking to go to a 4-year program because there's a need, just in the amount of time. We can't do everything that we have to do in a week's time. We're getting off-campus internships that are gonna lead to better employment opportunities for our students upon graduation, so we want to take advantage of that. Transportation is an issue with that, having a dedicated staff member to oversee the program. So funding for us, if existing programs are able to apply for additional funding to be able to sustain and to continue to improve our programs, that would be my request. And just from talking to different program directors, I know we have UL Life here, our new bridge director is here, her first day. Brittany is a program director, Lakeisha is a program director, I don't think I missed anybody. Paul with LSU. We've had conversations and it seems like that's the echoing sound. We're doing great work. We need to be able to be sustainable and to be able, there's always an improvement. And all of the improvements are different. And it helps so much for us to communicate and collaborate because we get ideas from each other on different things that we can do. And every student that we accept is a different person who has a different outlook and goal in their life. So it's always changing. And we have very good outcomes, Mitch living independently, working 2 jobs, that's what all of our programs want for all of our graduates. So for me, funding to be able to at least sustain a person to oversee the program and for them to be able to see, this isn't gonna end in a year, have funding for at least a couple of years. Trying to not increase our fees. Right. That's taxing on families and other supports. So.
I think that if we hadn't already achieved our geographic and institutional type goals, I would have a different thought, but I do agree that since we have achieved some of those goals, that we should move forward with giving existing programs more funds to elevate the quality of the programs.
Would like to hear if everybody doesn't mind weighing in. The only thing I will say is when you're on one-time money, even if it's a multi-year, I don't know how you all feel about using that for personnel versus everything else, right? Because even a multi-year grant is not sustainable. If you can't, we will advocate, but we can't guarantee that we're going to continue to get it. So maybe you could backfill some of the other things and then use your recurring money for your personnel. I don't know. I'm just raising that because I don't know. I mean, we have some champions across the street, but we've got to keep pushing, right?
It's really using those one-time funds in ways that
Yeah.
put you into a different place that allow you then to be more sustainable.
What's your thoughts, Brittany?
It is difficult because nothing is promised. The grants aren't promised, this isn't promised. So supporting personnel, you don't know. Every single day it's nerve-wracking because you can guarantee this money for maybe 3 years. That's the promise of 3 years of employment, but for only a certain amount of people. So overall, this money could guarantee us 3 years, which is more than the question of tomorrow if we didn't have the money. So anything is helpful.
Got it.
Thank you.
Keisha?
I would agree with her. Staff is a real big issue at BRCC. We're wearing like 2 and 3 hats, me and my staff, and so it's really, really hard to expand the program and take it to the next level if we don't have that support. That's a real big one for us.
Any thoughts?
I kind of agree with Dr. Burrow. You know, now that we have a program in ULM and we've kind of met that geographic goal, I think the marketing, just making sure that people are aware of the program, hitting those high schools, making sure that they're aware that the programs exist so that the students who are interested in applying for those programs are aware and their families are aware so they can apply. Just, I would say the marketing may be a good place to put money towards too.
Got it. So just getting the word out as well.
Yes.
Okay?
And I think the marketing, not in that component of getting, because it seems like y'all get a lot of applicants. But the marketing, as we're talking about, we need money, we need our legislators to allocate the money. So it is about the outreach in your areas to those legislators, like in your region, Northeast Louisiana, whoever has connections with those legislators, you know, we need to do that in all of wherever you're located. Your families have connections somehow, they live in those districts, like those legislators need to know and they need to make a commitment, have a personal relationship with those legislators, and that makes a big difference if you can get them to really get behind, putting money behind it, and then maybe get some type of sustainable funds that we know we can get, maybe some recurring funds that would be very beneficial, I think.
Do all the funds have to go to institutions, or can we centralize some of them in for marketing as well as legislative kind of advocacy work? I mean, so of the 1.2 million that remain, does it all have to go to institutions?
So LaPi, so in the original allocation, we gave some to LaPi and the rest to institutions.
Right.
So in terms of a centralized effort, LaPi could certainly do that. We have leadership change, so we need to talk with them, but LaPi, I don't want to speak for LaPi,
Yes.
but
Yes, that's
that's the
what,
role of LaPi, right?
that's why it was developed.
You gave me the idea about a year and a half ago about having our foundation get behind some of these initiatives, right? There should be donors out there that we're building the case for donors as well. Could some of the centralized funds be to help talk to the people that are fundraising on our campuses also that maybe we don't have the ear of? You know, so it's the marketing, it's the advocacy at the central level, but then you need the other institutions to have more money in order to sustain the programs and build out some more case on their own campus to fund more personnel, whatever. So maybe a small portion goes to LaPi and then the rest goes to the institutions who are currently hosting the programs.
Janine?
Yeah, I would agree. You know, it's twofold. Anytime you give a soft money, it's questionable about staff, 2, 3 years, whatever. But when you're dealing with humans, I mean, if we were doing research, that's one thing. The lab might shut down once the grant money is gone, but these are humans. And
Yep.
what do you do if they're halfway through and you have to toss them aside? That just breaks my heart. So being able to advocate to drum up more funds, I think is a good approach. Really good.
Okay. I know we have a parent here, or several. Thoughts?
I just had a question about, to Ebony. I'm kind of out of the loop, but, is that one of y'all's asks this year, this season? Is that, okay,
It's not on our advocacy agenda this year.
okay.
But we're always in support of LaPi.
No, I know you are. I know you are. I'm just talking about, I'm looking for whose coattails I can ride to go advocate is what I'm looking for. So I just need to know who's putting something forward and who has some things that some literature that I can bring to my legislators for more money for next year.
Right.
Because I'm always ready to go do that.
Got it. So we should talk about, governor's office and LaPi, maybe putting out a one page, or we can work on a one pager that speaks to what we have accomplished and what we need. So if we could get a consensus on the content, then our graphic designer could do that. That way you'd have a collateral piece that everybody's speaking from the same document. So we're happy to do that. I think we also need to talk to Senator Boudreaux to make sure, ask him as quarterback, like, how can we be best helpful, most helpful? So we'll put that down as deliverables. So we'll work, Mary, with you on language, get a one pager, let you guys all look at it and see if you're willing to, if you're so inclined, right? For information, because we're state employees, to share it.
And I think some of the information that was put together for Senator Boudreaux has some statistics and some data, how many students applied, how many students are being accepted. There's still more students applying than we're able to accept. And then we could put some things in. I know there was one success story that was in that document, but there's many, many more that we could actually put together.
That's great.
I think what could also be talked about is not only the acceptance and the success like Mitch, but the hardest phone call to make is telling the parents that the student didn't get, the applicant didn't get in.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we could share that as well,
Yeah.
that's more heartbreaking than, oh goodness, that's so difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you're gonna tell 10 people.
Yes.
Or 10 families, yeah.
Yes.
Not yet. You're gonna say not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, you're on
Not
the
yet.
list.
Right.
On the list.
I-
but
I
then
just want to make sure we hear from you all.
Well, I just, my thought was, and she said something about donor funding or something like an endowment. You know how we have an endowment that I get through the Board of Regents that pays for travel and different things that I do as a professor. Is that something that is a possibility where you get the match, you know, the money from a donor and then you have the match from the Board of Regents? And then that's just kind of more sustainable, I think, because you get it for multiple years.
Yeah.
And so is that something?
Is that like a professorship?
Yeah, like a professorship, yes.
So Nichols is actually in the process of having a professorship awarded for fall. Yeah, so we did that. And I think with the funding, with the foundation, we do a lot of fundraising, a lot of work with our foundation. And we're never gonna stop fundraising. And if we have the need for additional funds to go towards the staffing after, if there would be a lull in some soft monies, then that's the backup. You know, I know that's how we operate. But to be able to have something tangible for a couple of years, and that gives us a couple of years to fundraise. You know, if that soft money comes, and if it doesn't, then we have a plan.
So, okay, so if we think through this, what is your thinking? So the session ends June 3rd. So we know we want to do a one pager and do some advocacy work. We also want to look at the endowment piece as well. But you have 1.2. Hopefully we'll get more, but we don't know. So do you want to think about programs that either have their accreditation or programs that are existing, doing another allocation? Or do you want to wait till June 3rd and see where we are? What's the thinking of this council about that?
I would like to see it done now.
Okay. Is there a consensus around that? Okay,
I'm with them.
all right, so we'd like to do something now. Do you want to do programs that are existing and have received their, what's it called?
CTP.
CTP, and then as programs receive their CTP, they would be able to draw?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 11 programs. Right? So 50,000, that's 550,000. Is that what we're thinking, or that's just one idea? That's about half the money.
Do we still, in the past, we also required a match.
No,
Is that something that
we did not do that. Oh, we did do
No,
a
we
match.
did.
We did.
We did it once.
In-kind-
A dollar,
in-kind match,
yeah,
yes,
in-kind
yes.
match. dollar-
In-kind match. Well, I mean, I assume you got so much in-kind of office space and all the other things. I don't wanna make it harder to get the money. The idea is to
Right.
get the money so you can accelerate the work.
I think that.
So what's your thinking on that? Do you guys think 50 for all programs is the right number? And as you get your letter, you could draw from it? So that would allow all the programs to participate?
Could we allocate 50 for 2 years? I know that would be,
That's all of it. I mean, you have 100,000 left.
Is that enough to do the advocacy centralized work, though? It's what I'm wondering about.
we allocated 100,000 to the 5, and there's still another year.
You have to figure out what's left in it.
Yeah.
Janine will have to help us and you figure out what's left in it.
Yes, Mary. Do you have any idea what's left?
I don't have any idea. I know that there's some travel allocations that's coming out of it right now. That's allocated for travel, for programs to go to a conference to gain information.
Sure.
But I have not seen the budget.
Start tracking that down.
So we have one thought of doing a 2-year, 50,000, that leaves 100,000. And then as programs receive their accreditation, they could draw their 2-year grant. But that would give you a little bit of future forward stability and allow us both to advocate this year, hopefully successfully. But if we're not successful, we'd still have another bite and you'd still have some sustainability.
Yep.
That's a thought. But again, I'm one voice on a big council, so you guys have to tell me what your thinking is. Because we want to make sure we're reflecting what you want to do.
If you made it 30,000, then you can spread it out over 3 years, same kind of way. 30's not 50, but it's.
But they have carry forward. The campuses have carry forward, so they don't have to spend all 50 in 1 year,
Well, that's true.
right?
that's
So
right.
you just say you have 100. You need to report back to this point about being able to demonstrate return on investment.
I think for me, the only question, I really liked the 2-year 50,000 thing. Does $100,000 do enough for us at the centralized at La Pie? Because I think that for me, I know to grow the program at the A&M campus, for example, I would need to have the years of the foundation in order to get a donor. And I need someone who can talk to someone who can talk to the foundation, right? So I don't know if $100,000 gets us that person, that approach or whatever. But I'm thinking from my perspective, I really like the idea of $50,000 for the next 2 years to add on to the program. I just don't know if that's enough money to do what we need at the central level or not.
I know for Nichols, I've been the point of contact with the foundation. I know the program. I'm kind of the face of the program. So that has worked for us. We haven't had to spend any monies on that. You know, we do Facebook, we do those other things. You know, we employ student workers through Mass Comm and, you know, they do those kinds of things for us. So for us, that has not been something that we would choose to spend our money on, but another program might choose to spend their money that way. But for us, we have not. We've done a lot of outreach. We've done a lot of fundraisers. There's a lot of people in the community that are very willing to put on fundraisers. There's lots of, you know, different things out there. And I think we need to look at La Pie and see if that's something that we want to continue to spend money on, or do we want to utilize it, you know, through our own programs and use it how we want. The best suit, because we're all different, even though we're the same goal. We're very, very different programs, each one of us, because we have to do what works for us and the clientele that we service.
Are most of the 4-year programs in the UL system on the list?
UL Lafayette is a 4-year, Southeastern has a 4-year.
So Janine, I wonder if we could do a Zoom or a convening of the foundations for those campuses that we can host or that you all could host, to your point. Maybe we bring the foundation directors of the campuses that have a program that we're supporting.
I think that would be
Provide a
important.
lunch,
Yeah.
let you guys show what you're doing, talk about our success stories, ask them to help advocate. So instead of doing like one at a time, maybe we could do it together,
Makes sense.
right?
That doesn't sound costly either. That sounds
Right,
great.
that's lunch.
So that, yeah.
We could do that, yeah.
That's right.
And I know our foundation director, he would be more than happy to
Yeah.
share what he's done. on-
So we'll coordinate with
Yeah.
Janine since they have most of them to see. We're happy to do the lunch, Janine. I just want to make sure we coordinate that
Yeah,
and the right time of the year where people can actually come.
Sounds
Right.
good. Mhm.
So we'll take that on.
Okay.
Okay. So is there more, I don't take Tristan's role, but is there more discussion before he asks for a motion? Are we where we want to be? All right, Tristan, over to you.
I will entertain a motion. Somebody would like to make.
So I move to entertain the motion that would be $50,000 a year for the next 2 years for all existing programs. There was a stipulation,
Provided they have received their
CTP.
CTP, and then $100,000 to go to Lapine. Is that the entirety of it? It was,
let's wait on Lapine
Okay.
until we figure out.
okay,
So a friendly amendment to the motion.
okay.
Agreed.
So
Yeah.
There's a,
Motion.
I've got a motion.
Second.
Second. So there is a subtlety around us having the ability to dispense the funds. We have budget authority in this year. To make the second payment, we would have to ask the budget authority in the second.
Or them to. We'll work that out. We'll work that out.
So maybe if I could make a friendly addition to say, subject to appropriate budget authority.
Yeah.
Something like that. That agreement?
So that's a question of timing, not a question of dispensing of the money,
Right.
right?
Right.
So if we don't have budget authority to spend 1.2, we have to ask joint budget to give us budget authority to spend it. So that may mean that you get your 50 now, and then we have to figure out when we can go to joint budget to get a budget authority
The
to
second
give us the
half.
second half.
That's right. That's right.
That's the second context. Okay. So you have a motion and a second and clarification.
Any other discussion?
Do we have to add timelines, maybe applications like we did the last time?
So the spirit of this proposal is, this is not an RFP, this is simply.
You just get the money.
You get the money.
Each
There's no
program.
application process. It's only pending the accreditation for the programs that don't have it yet.
How we're gonna utilize the money.
With the report back, I think we should ask for the report back on the use of the funds.
So they do, part of it is everybody does have, all programs have to submit for the legislative report that we have to submit. So that could be how they report what they've done for the year.
Okay. So let's go back over. So you have a motion for 2-year allocation of 50,000. A report will get you the date that it's due to meet the legislative requirements, and an understanding that on the fiscal side, our office needs to get budget authority to do 2 allocations. So there may be a lag. So you could get one and we'll figure out the other. Does that cover everything?
You're approving everybody today, so there's no application. So then you wouldn't need the certification from the system offices,
I
correct?
think I think,
We're stipulating that you have to be credited to receive it.
Okay.
So
we'll
once the
reword the
new, so
letter.
once the new institutions receive theirs, they withdraw. Right? So it's an automatic draw once you receive the accreditation. And the accountability piece is that you have to tell us how you spent the money, how the money benefited the program,
Which was already in place anyway. Yeah.
which is already in place.
Yeah.
So we'll just reword the letter.
that's right.
Got it. Did that cover everything? Did I miss anything?
So the timeline of the programs getting the first 50,000 draw. That would be in time for,
So that'll be within
This
this
fiscal
fiscal year.
year.
It'll be within this fiscal.
So it's April, you get it before June.
for June.
Mhm.
Well, it's not 6 months.
And then when we do that, we'll figure out and let you know between now and then when you would get the second.
Second,
But it may be July, it may be new fiscal year,
that's,
because we have budget already. Yeah,
It's even better, wow.
so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So we got our CDP status in July, let's say.
Whenever you get it, you notify us in writing with a copy of it, and then you draw,
Even, but that's not for this fiscal year, that would be for the next.
whenever you get it.
whenever you get.
Okay.
And they're eligible for both $50,000 installments.
Once you get it.
Pretty nice, huh?
Your trip to Baton Rouge.
Well tried.
You may not have to say, you may not have to say no to quite so many people.
I know, he's doing, you're right.
Somebody's sitting there doing like this, drinking and popping it through the paper.
All right.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any against? The ayes have it. Sure.
Okay.
What a fun meeting. That was-
That doesn't happen.
I love it.
I had you a couple things.
Okay, so that leaves 200,000 and a lot of advocacy work to happen. But we're gonna work on the one pager, get that out, and the endowment and the foundation.
Yeah, the
meeting.
foundation's meeting. so we'll have
Foundation
a-
lunch.
Yeah. see.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, do we have any other business today? Anybody want to walk in a room with a big check?
A little tech for you.
Sure.
But big.
Tim, do we have any public comments? No. Anyone from the,
Oh, I had
it's
a
a
comment.
terrific crowd today. so-
Yeah, I had a comment actually,
Please.
Linda, Assistant Director Goda. In terms of tracking and finding, return on investment, things like that. Do you use your existing alumni networks for your universities to track your students of this? Because I know that, like, I recently graduated from UL. I wasn't a life member program in the program, but I do get regular emails and check-ins. And that would be a good way to, if you have those programs existing in your universities, use that alumni network to find out what they're doing, find out what, where they are and that kind of thing. Just something to consider if it's already in place, be easier than, reinventing the wheel.
That's an area.
That's great.
You know,
Thank you.
so
Yeah.
as far as our post-secondary program, we just got approval of an alumni association chapter for our life students, so they are full members of the alumni association, so to like spread the word,
Yeah.
it's equivalent to being an alumni of the university from an education department, have a chapter for the program. So that's a way to get in touch with our current alumni students, but as well as spreading the word amongst alumni in general for the universities.
Yeah.
And that's a big network.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Making a note.
Our university pays the alumni fee for the first year when our students complete. And then after that, they are notified like every other alum, to
Pay your dues.
pay your dues. And,
Yeah.
But for our purposes, we keep track of all of our data and we reach out to all of our graduates at least once a year to be able to determine who is living independently, who is having gainful employment, and some other information. So we do that in-house in the program.
I just want to say, as far as the advocacy component, I helped advocate for LaPi a few years ago, actually worked with Kathy and Mitch in developing the story to bring the legislators. The number one important thing with legislators is that success stories. They want to know the impact that these programs are having. And the number one thing is if you say that these students are going out and they are employed and they have jobs and they're living, they want to hear that. So I think that video piece of really focusing on the students that have graduated and that have gone out and are living independently is very, very important. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear that.
Thank you for that. I wonder if every program could could give us, if you have a success story, I know some of you just started, but if you have, two success stories that you could capture with a photo and a short blurb to just, so that we would have that by location, right? So that if you're speaking with the legislator from Lafayette or from Thibodeau, we have the success story that's custom to their area. So we could do a one pager with some stats and information on the front. On the back is the success story that is for your geographic location. I think that would be a home run.
And
I think that'd be perfect.
And the success story, not necessarily, and forgive me if this is already taking place, but not only from the student standpoint, but about the employer standpoint and how fun. I think that would also, and also maybe encourage other employers, businesses, industry to consider, hiring these graduates.
I think going forward, I mean, of course, the first year's report was a whole bunch of numbers and charts and tables. I think going forward, we have to put the numbers and charts and tables because the legislature says so, but we also want to include these,
Stories.
the stories, sorry.
So,
And just to add on top of that, I'm sorry, is just, he's going to do his taxes today. Okay, so he's paying taxes. He's not just living on
They
the
wanna
system.
hear that.
And that's huge to legislators as well. They wanna
hear
know
that.
that he's not a burden on system. He's living the life. I mean, he's paying his dues. He's paying his taxes. Just wanted to put that in.
That's exciting, but sad. Dang taxes.
sorry, about paying his taxes.
Yeah, really quick point, while we're talking about employment and all of that and, advocating for employment and whatnot. Everyone's really, really busy, but we are doing what we call Learn with Life Community Conversations panel on April 18th. Liam's actually on the panel, but we also have, I think, 3 or 4 of our alumni students serving on the panel. And it's all about being employed, a student with a disability being employed post-graduation, and other people on the panel are people who are employing students with with intellectual disabilities. So it's, a panel saying this is possible, this is what we're doing, ways to employ individuals, all that. So it will be live stream as well. So if anyone is free April 18th in the morning, I think 8:30, I can send out, I can share with Bambi, I can share the link or the invite to everybody. But it's a great way to advocate for employment and that people want to be employed and we're not just hanging out on campus, there's goals, there's big goals.
That's excellent. Thank you. Please share it because we'll definitely push it out and watch it. That's great. So I'm gonna see if you guys don't mind a 2-week homework assignment on the success stories. If you have that, a photo and just the blurb, as Janine said, on the employer side and or the student side, if you can send those to us, we'll work on the front part and then the back part. Because the budget will move, I guess, in a couple of weeks in the House, but we have about a month. So we need to, by 2 weeks, I think we should have our stuff ready, no later than 2 weeks.
Could you speak to HB 862? Because I believe with respect to LSU, there will not be a push for program fee approval. So the institution, we talked about this at the last meeting, but it was just filed by Representative Jason Hughes to proposes to allow public post-secondary management boards to establish and increase student tuition and fees, seemingly pushed by Board of Regents. Speak to that status, because I guess with respect to all the funding that's been discussed, the LAPI funding and the advisory council and the foundations kind of funding, this will be another mechanism for LSU and other institutions to be able to promote its own institution, as well as hopefully what we can collectively do is be promoting all of us in some ways. So.
Sure, so, the bill is, allows the so right now, as you all may know, you have to have a 2/3 vote to approve tuition and fees. I think we're one of 2 states in the country that requires that, and right now, no higher ed institution has a tuition or fee authority. Broad fee authority. They can do individual specialized fees. So this legislation would allow a couple of things. It allows tuition and fees to decrease. It allows tuition to be differentiated, so you can increase tuition for high-cost programs. You can differentiate, you can continue to differentiate tuition for specialized programs, including professional graduate programs. The authority is from certificates all the way through graduate studies. And it also allows for an up to 10% increase in fees. The Board of Regents, Tristan and team with Janine and others will set a list of high-cost programs. So the programs have to be on the high-cost list for the management boards to do that. But that legislation is, I think, probably going to be heard next week. And yes, Representative Hughes is leading that for us. So we've worked with all of the system presidents on a consensus piece of legislation. We have their consensus support on that, and so we're trying to move that forward. Thank you for bringing that up. So more to come on that, but it requires a 2/3 vote
Okay, so.
of House and Senate. So we'll be working hard on that one as well.
Any other thoughts to share?
Such a good meeting.
That was a good meeting. And,
Next Monday.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
So moved. Second.
All right. Thank you very, very much.